In a small city in California, just northwest of Los Angeles, life is ideal. And there's less hustle and bustle than its southern counterparts, yet many vacationing movie stars choose to spend their days here. There's an absolute abundance of natural splendor, and the scenery is gorgeous with beautiful orchards and hiking trails everywhere you look. The area hosts a unique feel, with a mix of country wisdom emanating from its longtime residents to counteract the new age glitz and glamour of the Hollywood elite. This city, what some may call paradise, is Ojai, California. But while the area may look blissful from the outside looking in, Ojai holds one of the darkest legends in California, the legend of the Char Man. But before we talk about the man himself, we need to understand a bit more about the area that he calls home. Ojai, California is a small area set in a valley in the Topa Topa Mountains. The vast, untapped Sespe Wilderness runs right alongside it. The local wildlife and fauna has a large variety, and there's no shortage of natural beauty. However, the area also holds an immense amount of scrub brush, which is incredibly prone to wildfires. And on top of this, the area is located in one of the driest parts of the state. Over 70 years ago, in 1948, there was one particularly large and devastating wildfire that burned most of the Ojai Valley. And due to the isolation of this rural area and the limitations of the times, some families were forced to wait days before authorities were able to offer aid or assistance. One such family lived in the hills just on the southern edge of Ojai, in an isolated little cabin. This family was simply comprised of a father and his son. They were very quiet, humble people by all accounts, and they mostly kept to themselves, and their low profile meant that people forgot that they were even there at all. A great quality for any neighbor, but one that would haunt them since their cabin was directly in the wildfire's path. During the fire, the cabin was completely engulfed, not standing much of a chance against the inferno. The father burned to death. However, perhaps miraculously, the son survived, but barely. The fire had gotten to him and charred him from head to toe. He was a smoking wreck of a man, with severe burns completely lining his skin. He was practically unrecognizable as a human being. Although he survived, the pain must have been unimaginable. No one knows the exact details of what happened next, but sometime in between the fire and waiting for assistance to arrive, the son snapped. Through a pairing of the intense physical and emotional trauma of losing his father and being burnt to a crisp, he lost his mind completely. When the police and firemen finally arrived many days after the fire, the scene they found was gruesome and unlike any they had seen before. The father was hanging upside down by his feet from what remained of a nearby tree, and the son, in his delirium, had flayed his father's skin entirely. All of his bubbling black and charred skin was removed. Alongside the grotesque and intensely disturbing display, the responders heard faint echoes of inhuman, labored wheezing from a nearby brush that had survived the flames. As officers drew closer to investigate the noise, something bolted from the brush. It was the son, a mass of charred flesh, somehow impossibly able to move. It was reported that the smell of burning flesh was so intense that the officers lost their conviction and focus, resulting in the son successfully fleeing into the hills. There, he would live out the rest of his days, with no home to return to. He infamously became the legend that still haunts Ojai today, known as the Char Man. From there, the legend spins wildly depending on who you ask. Many claim to have first-hand encounters with the Char Man, or perhaps his persisting spirit. Claims of seeing a human-like figure with black and bubbled skin in rural areas around Ojai have been reported ever since the original incident in 1948. Some claim that he's still alive today, though he must be ancient by now. Some believe his insane rage gave him strength and light beyond a typical mortal. Others claimed he died of his injuries in these same hills that he escaped to, but his enraged ghost still haunts the area to this day. There are a few consistent factors in the many reported Char Man sightings that occur on a yearly basis. The first being that you typically smell them before you see them, somehow still emanating the same vile smell of burned flesh that the officers had experienced all those years ago. The scent is profound and unmistakable. The second is that it's clear he's not in a good mood. Those who have had an unfortunate run-in with the Char Man claim that he's extremely aggressive. He even possesses a knife, perhaps the same one which he had flayed his father with. Many believe he still seeks out human skins and will flay you as well if you get too close. Perhaps he's searching for skin to replace his own. Although he's been spotted in several separate areas around the Ojai Valley area, a large portion of the sightings are located around the very rural Creek Road. There's a campground in the area known as Camp Comfort, an ironic name considering that it has gained a bit of reputation from its hauntings. The Char Man is said to stalk the camp at night, and you should be wary if you exit your tent. He's not quite bold enough to enter tents on his own, but he'll happily snatch anyone who wanders too far from theirs. Also, should you enter the area, make sure that you're good on gasoline. Many reports claim that harassing stopped or stalled vehicles is a favorite pastime of his. He picks out easy targets, so if you don't have an escape, you better be prepared to fight. Those who have seen him say although his body looks burnt and decrepit, he's incredibly fast. By the time you hear the crackling of him rustling in the brush, he'll already be sprinting at you or your vehicle, knife in hand, ready to reap your skin. The one advantage you have is that he isn't particularly stealthy. He makes quite a racket stomping through the undergrowth. Certain reports claim to have heard him moaning and groaning as the branches and thorns scrape against his sensitive skin. When he's on the chase, he howls and shrieks, ranting and raving about all the horrible things he's going to do when he catches you. There's no room for reasoning. There's no empathy available. He's become nothing but pure hatred and rage. All of these reports and sightings over the years have understandably attracted some attention from the local authorities. More than once, a squad of police officers have ventured into the woods and hills around Ojai. Although some searches come up empty, there have been times where a strange figure has been sighted, shockingly agile and elusive. However, the Char Man is typically able to evade any large groups that venture into his territory. He's had time to learn the landscape over the past 70 years. His most frequented spot on Creek Road has held so many sightings that the bridge has been dubbed Char Man Bridge. Locals say that if you stop your car on the bridge, get out of your vehicle and yell, "Help me!" the Char Man will come rampaging out of the woods, seeking his next easy victim. Well, what do you think? Is the Char Man's spirit still attached to the area where he had experienced so much suffering? Would you ever brave the Char Man Bridge to find out if these sightings are legitimate? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for next week's mystery.